Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today's Monday and it's April the 27th, 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently on these YouTube streets that you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. So feel free to like and to share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. And our story today is coming out of McDowell County, right here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, North Carolina woman sentenced to a maximum of 40 years for child sex crimes. I'll provide you with a summary here, and I'll identify some of my sources for you in the description box. Now, for all of my viewers who've ever told me that sentencing guidelines tend to favor women, and when it comes to child sex crimes, they're always getting off with very low sentences. Well, if you've ever uttered those words, pull up a seat for a few minutes because you're going to be interested in this recent sentence because it shows there are times when judges do indeed get it right. So let me set the stage for you. The location is a public high school in Western North Carolina, the name McDowell High. It's the only high school in McDowell County and has a population of approximately 1,800 students, and that information is available in the public domain. And we have to mention McDowell High because that's where the crimes we're discussing took place. Yes, they took place inside of that high school. And the woman at the center of this case is 31-year-old Jessica Patrick Finley. Not only was she the school guidance counselor, she was also the head volleyball coach. Now, she had been the school employee since 2017, and it was reported that she began working as a part-time receptionist and pre-K instructional assistant. Then in 2018, she was promoted to a full-time position, this time as a Project Rise coordinator. And in 2021, she was once again promoted, this time to guidance counselor position. And she also, and again, as I already mentioned, she was the head volleyball coach. My point of sharing this is to show that this woman was not new to the school system. She'd been there for quite some time and should have understood the school policies regarding involvement with students, involvement with minors. I also want to mention that Jessica is married. She has a husband and children of her own. And back in 2024, Jessica was accused of grooming a young child, a 14-year-old female student, initiating inappropriate communication that escalated into sexual encounters. She eventually pled guilty, and last week she received her sentence. Let's talk about the case. Now, this story began back in 2024 when a young girl's parent discovered inappropriate text messages on her phone and reported them to the school authorities, who then alerted the police. And the text messages were between the child, their daughter, and the school guidance counselor. And when confronted with the evidence, the guidance counselor, Finley, had no choice but to resign. But it got a lot worse for her. The school and the local sheriff's office asked the State Bureau of Investigation to take a lead in investigating the matter, and what they encountered was truly unbelievable. Now, it was reported that Finley's interaction with a student in the role of a guidance counselor was to help that 14-year-old student with anxiety. But the evidence obtained through search warrants showed that Finley had been grooming this young girl during the school year, which eventually led to sexual encounters. The evidence showed that the relationship between Finley and the student, as seen on her phone, included explicit text messages discussing past sexual encounters and future acts. In other words, they were talking about what they were planning to do to each other in the future. Now, the student told investigators that Finley had performed sexual acts on her multiple occasions in Finley's office, which is the guidance counselor's office at McDowell's High School. The warrant also mentioned that the student thought she was in a dating relationship with his guidance counselor, and that Finley also told the student she planned to leave her family, meeting her husband and children, to be with this 14-year-old. And this is the danger of a 14-year-old being in what she believes is a relationship, being in an entanglement with an adult woman and not being mature enough to understand that she's simply being manipulated. Makes you wonder how the school didn't know what was taking place. And so on February the 28th, 2024, Jessica Finley was arrested and charged with multiple counts of sex acts involving a minor. And here are the charges that she faced: 6 counts of statutory sex offense with a child, 8 counts of indecent liberties with a child, sex acts with a student, and offenses involving a child under the age of 15. And when she appeared before the judge for a bond hearing, she was issued a bond of $600,000. And of course, the school district then issued a notice, and here's the notice, that the full statement, essentially stating that they were aware of it. When they found out, they contacted the police, the SBI is involved, and that fact now that it's an active investigation, they would have nothing further to say at the moment. Now, as the months progressed and the case began to work its way through the court system, Finley was offered a plea deal which she refused in April of 2025. She chose instead to proceed to trial, and that was probably not a wise decision because she probably refused an agreement that would have allowed her to spend much less time behind bars, but that was a decision she made with her defense team. She also requested a lower bond, which the court refused in the summer of 2025. So it appears she was forced to remain behind bars until her trial. So fast forward to earlier this month, April 2026, around the middle of the month, it was the trial time for her trial. And after the first day, there was breaking news because there was an announcement that the suspect, Jessica Finley, had decided to plead guilty. So, day number 2 of the trial, and the victim, who is now age 17, told the court she initially sought counseling for anxiety and depression before her relationship with Finley changed. The teen also testified that she was unable to end the relationship because Finley threatened to harm herself. So Finley probably realized that she was doomed. She probably realized the outcome wasn't going to be a good one. So she admitted to multiple sex acts with this student and the fact that she had groomed this child for her own personal benefit. And as the victim testimony continued, reports say the family described Finley as a predator. It was reported that Finley cried as she stood before the judge and entered that guilty plea. She said she was sorry for her actions and for the pain she had caused the victim's family, as well as her own family. Remember me saying Finley was married with children. She had a husband and children of her own. And once again, she pled guilty to all of the charges: 6 counts statutory sex offense with a child, 8 counts indecent liberties with a child, sex with a student, and offenses involving a child under the age of 15. And after hearing from everyone, the judge was obviously not impressed. He imposed a sentence that would send one of the strongest messages I've heard for a female school predator. Finley was sentenced to 28 to 40 years in prison. That's a minimum of 28 years and 4 months to a maximum of 40 years and 6 months in prison. Now she's been held in jail ever since she was charged. So she'll receive credit for 778 days, and that's considered time already served. The judge also ordered a psychological exam, and Finley will be required to register as a sex offender after she is released. Now, nothing was said about restitution, but I won't be surprised if the school system is not sued since this abuse happened on school property, and who knows, maybe that's something that's already in the works. And I want to personally say kudos to a judge for imposing a sentence that many will be discussing for a very, very long time. Yes, we all admit it's an unusual sentence for a woman, but it's one that she deserved. Having sex with a student in her office, a student she was being paid to support through problems with anxiety. She got exactly what she deserves, and there are others out there who deserve a sentence just like this. So I hope you're taking notice, because if you keep abusing our children, your karma is on its way. And that's all I have for you right now, but feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video, and by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks like just like this one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.